Brave is a 2012 American animated fantasy adventure film produced by Pixar Animation Studios and released by Walt Disney Pictures. The film was directed by Mark Andrews and Brenda Chapman, co-directed by Steve Purcell, and produced by Catherine Serafian, with John Lasseter, Andrew Stanton, and Pete Docter serving as executive producers. The story was written by Chapman, who also co-wrote the film's screenplay with Andrews, Purcell, and Irene Mecchi. The film stars the voices of Kelly MacDonald, Billy Connolly, Emma Thompson, Julie Walters, Robbie Coltrane, Kevin McKidd, and Craig Ferguson. Set in the Scottish Highlands, The film tells the story of Princess Merida of Dunbrock, MacDonald, who defies an age-old custom, causing chaos in the kingdom by expressing the desire not to be betrothed. When Queen Eleanor, Thompson, her mother, is turned into a bear, Merida must look within herself and find the key to saving the kingdom. Merida is the first character in the Disney princess line to be created by Pixar. The film is also dedicated to Pixar chairman and Apple co-founder and CEO Steve Jobs, who died before the film's release. Brave is Pixar's first film with a female protagonist, and the first one animated with a new proprietary animation system, called Presto. 3 Originally titled The Bear and the Bow, the film was first announced in April 2008 alongside Up, 2009, and Cars 2, 2011. Chapman, who had just wrapped up work as a story artist on Cars, 2006, drew inspiration for the film's story from her relationship with her own daughter. Co-directing with Andrews and Purcell, Chapman became Pixar's first female director of a feature-length film. To create the most complex visuals possible, Pixar completely rewrote their animation system for the first time in 25 years. 567 Brave is the first film to use the Dolby Atmos sound format. 8 The filmmakers created 3 original tartan patterns for 3 of the 4 clans in the film. Patrick Doyle composed the film's musical score. Brave premiered at the Seattle International Film Festival on June 10, 2012, and was theatrically released in North America on June 22. Receiving generally positive reviews, it was a box office success, grossing $539 million against a $185 million budget. The film won the Academy Award 9, 10, the Golden Globe 11, and the BAFTA Award for Best Animated Feature Film. 12 Preceding the feature theatrically was a short film entitled La Luna, directed by Enrico Casarosa. 13. Plot. In medieval Scotland, a young Princess Merida of Clan Dunbrock celebrates her birthday and is given a bow and arrow by her father, King Fergus, dismaying his wife Queen Eleanor. In the forest, Merida encounters a will-o'-the-wisp and follows the other wisps to her family, and Mordu, a huge demonic bear, attacks the family. Fergus and his men fend off Mordu, though the fight costs Fergus one of his legs. 10 years later, Merida discovers she is to be betrothed to the son of one of her father's allies. Failure to consent to the betrothal could harm Dunbrock. Eleanor reminds Merida of a legend of a prince whose pride and refusal to follow his father's wishes destroyed his kingdom. The allied clan chieftains and their firstborn sons arrive to compete in the Highland Games for Merida's hand in marriage. Twisting the rules, Merida announces that, as her own clan's firstborn, she will compete for her own hand. She easily bests her suitors and, after arguing with Eleanor, runs away into the forest. She encounters the wisps again, who lead her to the hut of an elderly witch, where she bargains for a spell to change Eleanor. The witch gives her an enchanted cake. Eleanor eats the cake and is transformed into a bear, unable to speak but retaining most of her human consciousness. Merida returns to the deserted witch's cottage, and discovers a message from the witch. She must mend the bond, torn by pride by the second sunrise, or the spell will become permanent. Merida and Eleanor encounter Mordu and realize Mordu was the prince in the legend. Merida vows not to let the same thing happen to her mother, and concludes she needs to repair the family tapestry she deliberately damaged during their argument. They return to the castle to find the clans on the verge of war. Merida intends to declare herself ready to choose a suitor as tradition demands, but at Eleanor's prompting, she instead allows the firstborns to marry in their own time to whomever they choose. The clans agree, breaking tradition but renewing their alliance. Losing her humanity, Eleanor attacks Fergus and flees the castle. Mistaking the queen for Mordu, Fergus pursues the bear with the other clans, locking Merida in the castle. Merida escapes with the assistance of her triplet brothers, who have become bear cubs after eating the enchanted cake. She repairs the tapestry as Fergus and the clans capture Eleanor. Merida thwarts them before the real Mordu arrives. Mordu targets Merida, but Eleanor intercedes, causing Mordu to be crushed by a falling menhir. This releases the spirit of the prince, who thanks Merida for freeing him and transforms into a wisp. As the sun rises for the second time, Merida covers Eleanor in the repaired tapestry, but she remains a bear. Thinking it was for nothing, Merida reconciles with her mother, begging to have her back, unknowingly fulfilling the true meaning of the witch's message. This reverses the spell's effects on her mother and brothers. With Mordu gone, Merida and Eleanor work together on a new tapestry, bid farewell to the other clans, and ride their horses together. Voice cast: Billy Connolly, middle, at the Australian premiere of the film at the Sydney Film Festival 14. Kelly MacDonald as Merida, Princess of Dunbrock, an adventurous and virtuous 16-year-old princess who has been forced to be betrothed to strengthen the bond of a kingdom. Peggy Barker as young Merida. Emma Thompson as Eleanor, Queen of Dunbrock, for Dunbrock is queen and Merida's mother, whose respect for protocol and tradition brings her into conflict with her daughter. Billy Connolly as Fergus, King of Dunbrock, for Dunbrock is king and Merida's boisterous father. Julie Walters as the witch, for a crafty and eccentric witch who agrees to help Merida. She is also a master woodcarver. Robbie Coltrane as Lord Dingwall. 4. Kevin McKidd as Lord MacGuffin and young MacGuffin. 15. Craig Ferguson as Lord Macintosh. 4. Steve Purcell as the Crow, a talking crow of the witch, who has his own opinions on his mistress' way of thinking as well as her abilities. Patrick Doyle as Martin, the guard. John Ratzenberger as Gordon, the guard. 16. Sally Kinghorn and Eyelid Fraser as Maudie, the bumbling and cowardly castle maid. Stephen Cree as young Macintosh. Callum O'Neill as Wee Dingwall. 17. Production. Announced in April 2008 as The Bear and the Bowie, Teen Brave is Pixar's first fairy tale. 1920-21 writer and director Brenda Chapman considers it a fairy tale in the tradition of Hans Christian Andersen and the Brothers Grimm. 22 She also drew inspiration from her relationship with her daughter. 23 Chapman conceived the project and was announced as the film's director, making her Pixar's first female director. 24 But in October 2010, she was replaced by Mark Andrews after creative disagreements between her and John Lasseter. 25-26 Chapman found the news of her replacement devastating, but later stated that her vision came through in the film and that she remained very proud of the movie, and that I ultimately stood up for myself. 23-4. Chapman then stated in an interview in 2018 that while she was still bittersweet about being taken off the film and believed that there was no reason to do so creatively, she felt that it opened more doors for me to have that happen. 26 Brave is also the first Pixar film with a female protagonist and Pixar's first film to have two credited directors. Following his hiring as director, Mark Andrews did a major overhaul of the story to give more focus on Merida and her troubled relationship with her mother. Among others, he cleared away many magic elements, which he found affected the environment. 27 However, he wanted to stay truthful to Chapman's story. He said, "The bones of the film were totally fine. That was not the issue. What was hanging off the bones, there were problems. There were things that were not working. The focuses and balances that were out of whack." 28. The end credits include a special tribute to Pixar co-founder and CEO Steve Jobs, who died in 2011. 29. Casting. Brave is the first Pixar film starring a female protagonist. For in that respect, Brave was followed by Inside Out, Finding Dory, Incredibles 2, Turning Red, and Elemental, all of which featured female protagonists. In 2010, Reese Witherspoon, Billy Connolly, Emma Thompson, and Julie Walters joined the cast, with Witherspoon set to voice Merida. 30 According to Andrews, Witherspoon was on the project for quite some time. She was getting her Scottish accent down, she was working very hard and it was sounding great, but as we were continuing with the movie she had other movies lining up, so unfortunately we were unable to continue with her and had to get a replacement. 31. Instead, in 2011 it was revealed that Merida was to be voiced by Scottish actress Kelly MacDonald. 32. In 2017, during a press junket for Illumination's Sing, Witherspoon mentioned that she had to leave the film due to failure to master a Scottish accent. 33. Music. Main article, Brave, soundtrack. The score for Brave was composed by Patrick Doyle and performed by the London Symphony Orchestra. The orchestra was conducted by James Shearman. To bring some of Scotland's native flavour to the music, Doyle used traditional Celtic instruments such as bagpipes, a solo fiddle, Celtic harps, flutes and the bodhán, a tunable, hand-held frame drum, with an electronically treated dulcimer and cymbalum to give it a more contemporary feel. I employed many classic Scottish dance rhythms such as reels, jigs, and strathspeys, which not only serve the action but keep it authentic, said Doyle. 34. As part of his research, he spent time in the Hebrides studying unaccompanied Gaelic psalm singing. 35. Doyle also composed several songs for the film. The lullaby duet between characters Princess Merida and Queen Eleanor entitled Haideen U Asselbon, Noble Maiden Fair, appears on 3 occasions in different variations within the fabric of the score, and uniquely includes Gaelic vocals by Emma Thompson and Peggy Barker, the first Disney film with music featuring the language. Citation needed. The drinking song Song of Mordu, lyrics by Doyle and Steve Purcell, sung by Billy Connolly, Scott Davies, Patrick Doyle, Gordon Neville, Alex Norton, and Kerry Wilson, features a rich variety of words, sung authentically in Scots, which is distinct from Scottish Gaelic. Scots being a Germanic language, while Scottish Gaelic is Celtic. In addition to Doyle's music, the film features 3 other original songs: Learn Me Right, written by Mumford and Sons and performed with Birdie, Touch the Sky, music by Alex Mondell, lyrics by Mark Andrews and Mondell, and Into the Open Air, music and lyrics by Alex Mondell. Both Touch the Sky and Into the Open Air were performed by Julie Fowlis, as Merida's off-screen musical thoughts. These 2 tracks were produced by composer and arranger Jim Sutherland, who is also featured as a performer. Along with introducing Doyle to a number of specialist Celtic musicians who feature in the score, Sutherland was responsible for discovering the young Gaelic singer Peggy Barker, the voice of young Merida. Walt Disney Records released the soundtrack on both CD album and digital download on June 19, 2012. 36. Tartans. Clan Dunbroch Tartan, STA 10641. Pixar created 3 original tartan patterns for the film for 3 of the 4 clans, Dunbroch, Dingwall, and MacGuffin. Clan Macintosh wears a red tartan similar to the non-fictional Clan Macintosh. The Walt Disney Company registered the Clan Dunbroch tartan within the Scottish Register of Tartans upon the release of the film. The tartan consists of ocean blue for the North Sea, subdued scarlet for bloodshed during the clan wars, deep green for the Scottish Highlands, navy blue for the eventual unity of the 4 clans, and grey for the Scottish people. In selecting the color scheme, Pixar took historical considerations, stating that here was a concerted effort to use hues that were indicative of the less saturated dyeing techniques used during the ancient period in which the fantasy film is set. 37. The registration was celebrated at the film's British premiere in Edinburgh, where Scottish First Minister Alex Salmond presented a certificate to director Mark Andrews. However, member of the Scottish Parliament Alex Johnstone criticised the registration, as well as other fiction-based entries such as one for Peter Rabbit, as shallow and irreverent. Johnstone contended that the 2008 legislation that created the Scottish Register of Tartans was intended to prevent such entries and protect Scotland's heritage. 38. The registration was not the first for Disney. The company also registered a tartan pattern for the Clan MacDuck in 1942. 39. Release. The film was initially set for release on holiday 2011-40, but the date was moved to June 15, 2012-41, and later to June 22, 2012. 42 On April 3, 2012, Pixar screened the film's first 30 minutes, which received a positive reaction. 43 The film premiered on the last day of the Seattle International Film Festival on June 10, 2012. 44 It had its Australian premiere on June 11, 2012, at the Sydney Film Festival. 45 Its domestic premiere on June 18, 2012, at Hollywood's Dolby Theatre as part of the Los Angeles Film Festival. 46 Its European premiere at the Taormina Film Festival in Sicily on June 23, 2012, and its British premiere at the Edinburgh International Film Festival on June 30, 2012, with Kelly MacDonald, Robbie Coltrane, Craig Ferguson, Brian Cox, Kevin McKidd, Ewan Bremner, Kate Dickey, Julie Fowles, Patrick Doyle, Daniela Nardini, and Alex Salmond in attendance. 47 48 49 In the United States and Canada, Brave is the first feature-length film to use the Dolby Atmos sound format. 50 Almost half of the 14 theaters set up to show the film in Atmos are in California, Burbank, Century City, Fremont, Hollywood, San Francisco, and Sherman Oaks, with the others located in 7 other states: Lake Buena Vista, Florida; Kansas City, Missouri; Paramus, New Jersey; Las Vegas, Nevada; Chicago; West Plano, Texas; Vancouver, Washington; and Toronto, Ontario. 51 It was released in other theaters with Dolby Surround 7.1. In total, it was released in 4,164 theaters, a record high for Pixar. The previous record was held by Cars 2, 4,115 theaters. 2,790 of the theaters included 3D shows. 53. Home media. Brave was released on Blu-ray, Blu-ray 3D, DVD, and digital download on November 13, 2012. It includes La Luna and a new short film, The Legend of Mordu, which explores the history of Mordu, from the witch's perspective. 54-55 The DVD contains audio commentary by director Mark Andrews, co-director/screenwriter Steve Purcell, story supervisor Brian Larson, and editor Nick Smith. Citation needed. Brave was released on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray on September 10, 2019. 56-57 Disney threatened a lawsuit against a British company, Bright Spark Productions, that had packaged a low-budget 2005 Canadian film called A Fairy Tale Christmas as Braver. Disney claimed the DVD cover was too similar to that of Brave. Braver was sold in supermarkets in the United Kingdom. 58. Reception. Box office. Brave earned $237.3 million in North America, and $301.7 million in other countries, for a worldwide total of $539 million. 2. It was the 13th highest grossing film of 2012, 59 the 8th highest grossing Pixar film, 60 and the 3rd highest grossing animated film that year behind Ice Age, Continental Drift, $875.3 million, and Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted, $746.9 million. In North America, pre-release tracking suggested the film would open between $55 million to $65 million in North America, 61-62, which is slightly below average for a Pixar film. 53 As trackers initially suggested that as a princess story, the film might not appeal as much to male audiences. 53. It opened on June 22, 2012, with $24.6 million and finished its opening weekend with $66.3 million, the same amount as Cars 2, Pixar's previous film, at the upper end of the numbers analysts predicted. 63 This was the 7th largest opening weekend in June, 64 and the 6th largest for a Pixar film. 65 Despite pre-release tracking indications, the audience was estimated to be 43% male and 57% female. 66 In North America, It is the 9th highest grossing Pixar film, 60 the highest grossing 2012 animated film, 67 and the 8th highest grossing film of 2012. 68. Outside North America, the film earned $14 million from 10 markets on its opening weekend, finishing in third place behind Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted and Snow White and the Huntsman. 69 overall. Its largest openings occurred in France and the Maghreb region, $6.5 million, Mexico, $5.53 million, and Russia and the CIS, $5.37 million. In total earnings, its highest grossing countries were the UK, Ireland, and Malta, $34.9 million, France and the Maghreb region, $26.8 million, and Mexico, $21.6 million. 70. Critical response. Upon release, Brave received mostly positive reviews from critics. 71. Although unlike most Pixar films released to that point, praise was not universal. 72-73. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 78% of 254 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 7/10. The website's consensus reads, Brave offers young audiences and fairy tale fans a rousing, funny fantasy adventure with a distaff twist and surprising depth. 74. Metacritic, which uses a weighted average, assigned the film a score of 69 out of 100, based on 37 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. 75 audiences polled by CinemaScore during the film's opening weekend gave it an average grade of A on a scale from A+ to F. 66. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 3 out of 4 stars. He wrote, "The good news is that the kids will probably love it, and the bad news is that parents will be disappointed if they're hoping for another Pixar groundbreaker. Unlike such brightly original films as Toy Story, Finding Nemo, WALL-E, and Up, this one finds Pixar poaching on traditional territory of Disney." He said that the film did have an uplifting message about improving communication between mothers and daughters, although transforming your mother into a bear is a rather extreme first step. 76. Peter DeBrugge of Variety gave a positive review of the film, writing that the film offers a tougher, more self-reliant heroine for an era in which princes aren't so charming, set in a sumptuously detailed Scottish environment, where her spirit blazes bright as her fiery red hair. DeBrugge said that adding a female director, Brenda Chapman, to its creative boys club, the studio Pixar has fashioned a resonant tribute to mother-daughter relationships that packs a level of poignancy on par with such beloved male bonding classics as Finding Nemo. 77. Conversely, Todd McCarthy of The Hollywood Reporter gave it a negative review, stating that the film diminishes into a rather wee thing as it chugs along, with climactic drama that is both too conveniently wrapped up and hinges on magical elements that are somewhat confusing to boot. 78. Leonard Maltin on IndieWire said, "I'll give it points for originality, but that story twist is so bizarre that it knocked me for a loop. The movie tries to make up for the stutter with a heart-tugging, emotional finale, but the build-up to that moment has been undermined, so it doesn't have the impact it should." 79. Some reviewers saw the Merida character as a novel break from the traditional line of Disney princesses. There were some dissonance and criticism among viewers and organized feminists when her character was scheduled to be crowned a Disney princess, only for artists to render her thinner, with less frizzy hair, and rounder eyes, more like the other princesses from previous Disney movies. This inspired girl empowerment website A Mighty Girl to file a petition that Disney not alter their character. 81. One of the 262,196 signatories was Brenda Chapman, the director of the film, who felt that Disney had betrayed the essence of what we were trying to do with Merida: give young girls and women a better, stronger role model. 82. And that the makeover was a blatantly sexist marketing move based on money. 83. The online petition was considered a success, as shortly after it appeared Disney removed the redesigned image from their official website, in favor of Merida's original film appearance. 84. Disney later clarified the situation, assuring that Merida would remain in her original form. Kelly MacDonald, born February 23, 1976, is a Scottish actress. Known for her performances on film and television, she has received various accolades including a BAFTA Award, a Primetime Emmy Award, and 4 Screen Actors Guild Awards. MacDonald made her film debut in Danny Boyle's Trainspotting, 1996. She was nominated for the BAFTA Award for Best Actress in a Supporting Role for her role in the Coen Brothers film No Country for Old Men, 2007. During her career she has taken roles in Elizabeth, 1998, Gosford Park, 2001, Intermission, 2003, Nanny McPhee, 2005, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 2, 2011, Anna Karenina, 2012, T2 Trainspotting, 2017, and Operation Mincemeat, 2021. She voiced Princess Merida in the Disney Pixar animated film Brave, 2012. On television, she won Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Miniseries or a Movie for her role in the BBC One film The Girl in the Cafe, 2005. She was further Emmy nominated for her portrayal of Margaret Thompson in the HBO period crime drama series Boardwalk Empire, 2010 to 2014. She also acted in Black Mirror's Hated in the Nation, 2016, the limited series Giri/Haji, 2019, and Line of Duty, 2021. Early life and education. Kelly MacDonald was born on 23 February 1976 in Glasgow, Scotland, and grew up in Newton Mearns. Citation needed. She attended Eastwood High School from 1989 to 1993. 2. Career. MacDonald at the 2007 Toronto International Film Festival. MacDonald's career began while she was working as a barmaid in Glasgow. 3. She saw a leaflet advertising an open casting session for Trainspotting and decided to audition, winning the part of Diane for the underage seductress to Ewan McGregor's Renton. Other roles include Mary O'Neary in Two Family House 5 and an actress playing Peter Pan in Finding Neverland. 6. She had major roles in Robert Altman's British period piece Gosford Park 7 where she played an aristocrat's maid, and in Intermission, 2003, as Deirdre. 8. On radio she portrayed Mary in the 1999 BBC radio drama Lighthouse, based on Pete Townshend's abandoned rock opera, some of the songs for which were released on the Who's album Who's Next. 9. On television, her highest profile roles have been in 2 BBC dramas, the Paul Abbott serial State of Play, 2003, 10 and the one-off Richard Curtis piece The Girl in the Cafe, 2005. 11. Both of these were directed by David Yates, and both also starred Bill Nighy. For her performance in The Girl in the Cafe, she was nominated for the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress, Miniseries or Television Film in 2006-12, and won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress in a Miniseries or a Movie. 13. MacDonald had a supporting role in the Coen Brothers Academy Award-winning film No Country for Old Men, 2007, for which she was nominated for a BAFTA Award for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. 14. It was reported that she had to fight her agent to be considered for the role, but MacDonald later denied the story. 15. Other films where she had supporting roles include Choke, 2008, adapted by Clark Gregg from the 2001 Chuck Palahniuk novel, as Paige Marshall, in The Electric Mist, 2009, based on James Lee Burke's In the Electric Mist with Confederate Dead, 1993, as Kelly Drummond, alongside Tommy Lee Jones and John Goodman, and Skullik, 2009, as Louise. 16. She played the lead in The Merry Gentleman, 2008. 17. In 2011 she played the Grey Lady, revealed to be Helena Ravenclaw, in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 2, the final installment of the Harry Potter film franchise. She replaced Nina Young, who originally played the role. In 2012, she provided the voice of Merida, the heroine of the Disney/Pixar film Brave, and played Dolly in Anna Karenina. She starred in the romantic comedy film The Decoy Bride, which was released in 2012. 18. From 2010 until its ending in 2014, she starred in the HBO crime drama Boardwalk Empire as Margaret Thompson, the wife of Prohibition-era Atlantic City crime boss Nucky Thompson, Steve Buscemi. She appeared in all 5 seasons of the series. In 2011, she and the rest of the show's cast were awarded the Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by an Ensemble in a Drama Series. In 2016 she starred in Ricky Gervais' Special Correspondence as Claire Maddox 19 and Swallows and Amazons as Mrs. Walker. 20 In 2016, she played the lead role in Hated in the Nation, an episode of the anthology series Black Mirror for which she received critical acclaim. On November 3, 2016 MacDonald was featured in the trailer for Danny Boyle's T2 Trainspotting, confirming she would reprise her role as Diane from the original film, which she did. In 2017, she co-starred opposite Benedict Cumberbatch in the BBC film The Child in Time. MacDonald played the guest lead in the 6th series of the BBC's police drama Line of Duty. 21. In 2025 MacDonald appeared as a therapist in the Netflix thriller Department Q and as a sheriff in the HBO series Lanterns. 22. Personal life. In August 2003 MacDonald married musician Doug E. Payne, bassist of the band Travis. They have 2 sons. The couple moved back to their hometown of Glasgow in 2014 after living in London and New York City. 23-24 They separated in 2017. Dame Emma Thompson, born April 15, 1959, is a British actress and screenwriter. Her work spans over 4 decades of screen and stage, and her accolades include 2 Academy Awards, 3 BAFTA Awards, 2 Golden Globe Awards and a Primetime Emmy Award. In 2018, she was made a Dame, DBE, by Queen Elizabeth II for her contributions to drama. Born to actors Eric Thompson and Phil Little, Thompson was educated at Newnham College, Cambridge, where she became a member of the Footlights troupe, and appeared in the comedy sketch series Al Fresco, 1983 to 1984. In 1985, she starred in the West End revival of the musical Me and My Girl, which was a breakthrough in her career. In 1987, she came to prominence for her performances in 2 BBC series, Tutti Frutti and Fortunes of War, winning the BAFTA TV Award for Best Actress for her work on both series. In the early 1990s, she often collaborated with then-husband, actor and director Kenneth Branagh, in films such as Henry V, 1989, Dead Again, 1991, and Much Ado About Nothing, 1993. For her performance in the Merchant Ivory period drama Howard's End, 1992, Thompson won the BAFTA Award and the Academy Award for Best Actress. In 1993, she received 2 Academy Award nominations, Best Actress and Best Supporting Actress for the respective roles of the housekeeper of a grand household in The Remains of the Day and a lawyer in The Name of the Father, becoming one of the few actors to achieve this feat. Thompson wrote and starred in Sense and Sensibility, 1995, for which she won the Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay, making her the only person in history to win Oscars for both acting and writing, and once again won the BAFTA. Further critical acclaim came for her roles in Primary Colors, 1998, Love Actually, 2003, Saving Mr. Banks, 2013, Late Night, 2019, and Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, 2022. Other notable film credits include The Harry Potter Saga, 2004 to 2011, Nanny McPhee, 2005, which she also wrote, Stranger Than Fiction, 2006, An Education, 2009, Men in Black 3, 2012, and the spin-off Men in Black, International, 2019, Brave, 2012, Beauty and the Beast, 2017, Cruella, 2021, and Matilda the Musical, 2022. Her television credits include Wit, 2001, Angels in America, 2003, The Song of Lunch, 2010, King Lear, 2018, and Years, 2019. She portrayed Mrs. Lovett in a Lincoln Center production of Stephen Sondheim's Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street in 2014. Authorized by the publishers of Beatrix Potter, Thompson has also written 3 Peter Rabbit children's books. Early life and education. Thompson was born in Hammersmith, London on April 15, 1959. 3. Her mother is Scottish actress Phil Littelaw, while her English father, Eric Thompson, was an actor best known as the writer of the popular children's television series The Magic Roundabout. 5. 6. Her godfather was the director and writer Ronald Eyre. 7. 8. She has a younger sister, Sophie, who is also an actress. 5. The family lived in the West Hampstead district of London. 6. And Thompson was educated at Camden School for Girls. 9. She spent much time in Scotland during her childhood and often visited Ardentini, where her grandparents and uncle lived. 10. ADC Theatre, University of Cambridge, where Thompson began performing with footlights. In her youth, Thompson was intrigued by language and literature, a trait she attributes to her father, who shared her love of words. 11. After successfully taking A-levels in English, French, and Latin. 12. And securing a scholarship. 13. She began studying for an English degree at Newnham College, Cambridge. 14. Arriving in 1977. Thompson believes that it was inevitable she would become an actor, remarking that she was surrounded by creative people and I don't think it would ever have gone any other way, really. 8. While there, she had a seminal moment that turned her to feminism and inspired her to take up performing. She explained in a 2007 interview how she discovered the book The Madwoman in the Attic, which is about Victorian female writers and the disguises they took on in order to express what they wanted to express. That completely changed my life. 15. She became a self-professed punk rocker, 16 with short red hair and a motorbike, and aspired to be a comedian like Lily Tomlin. 15. At Cambridge, Thompson was invited into the Cambridge Footlights, the university's prestigious sketch comedy troupe, by its president, Martin Bergman. 17. Note 1. Also in the troupe were fellow actors Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie, and she had a romantic relationship with the latter. 20. Fry recalled that there was no doubt that Emma was going the distance. Our nickname for her was Emma Talented. 21. In 1980, Thompson served as the vice president of Footlights 22 and co-directed the troupe's first all-female revue, Woman's Hour. 17. The following year, she and her Footlights team won the Perrier Award at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe for their sketch show The Cellar Tapes. 23. She graduated with upper second-class honors. 24. In the early 80s, Thompson studied clowning under Philippe Gallier at École Philippe Gallier. 25. 26. 27. Thompson's father died in 1982, at age 52. 5. She has stated that this tore the family to pieces. 28. And I can't begin to tell you how much I regret his not being around. 29. She added, at the same time, it's possible that were he still alive I might never have had the space or courage to do what I've done. I have a definite feeling of inheriting space and power. 29. Career. Early work and breakthrough, 1980 to 1989. During Thompson's years studying at Cambridge, she starred in a BBC Radio 4 comedy series called Injury Time, which was recorded and broadcast from 1980 to 1982. 31. Thompson had her first professional role in 1982, touring in a stage version of Not the 9 O'Clock News. 4. She then turned to television, where much of her early work came with her Footlights co-stars Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry. The regional ITV comedy series There's Nothing to Worry About, 1982, was their first outing, followed by the one-off BBC show The Crystal Cube, 1983. 32. There's Nothing to Worry About. later returned as the network sketch show Alfresco, 1983-84, which ran for 2 series with Thompson, Fry, Laurie, Ben Elton, and Robbie Coltrane. 4:32 She later collaborated again with Fry and Laurie on the acclaimed BBC Radio 4 series Saturday Night Ferry, 1988. Thompson's first husband Kenneth Branagh, pictured in 2011, collaborated with her early in her career. In 1985, Thompson was cast in the West End revival of the musical Me and My Girl, co-starring Robert Lindsay. It provided a breakthrough in her career, as the production earned rave reviews. 4:33 She played the role of Sally Smith for 15 months, which exhausted her. She later remarked, "I thought if I did the fucking Lambeth walk one more time I was going to fucking throw up." 21. At the end of 1985, she wrote and starred in her own one-off special for Channel 4, Emma Thompson, Up for Grabs. 34. Thompson achieved another breakthrough in 1987 for when she had leading roles in 2 television miniseries, Fortunes of War, a World War II drama co-starring Kenneth Branagh, and Tutti Frutti, a dark comedy about a Scottish rock band with Robbie Coltrane. 33 For these performances, Thompson won the British Academy Television Award for Best Actress. 35 The following year, she wrote and starred in her own sketch comedy series for BBC, Thompson, but this was poorly received. 36 In 1989, she and Branagh, with whom she had formed a romantic relationship, starred in a stage revival of Look Back in Anger, directed by Judi Dench and produced by Branagh's Renaissance Theatre Company. 37 Later that year, the pair starred in a televised version of the play. 4:37. Thompson's first cinema appearance came in the romantic comedy The Tall Guy, 1989, the feature film debut from screenwriter Richard Curtis. 33 It starred Jeff Goldblum as a West End actor, and Thompson played the nurse with whom he falls in love. The film was not widely seen. 38 But Thompson's performance was praised in the New York Times, where Karen James called her an exceptionally versatile comic actress. 39 She next turned to Shakespeare, appearing as Princess Catherine in Branagh's screen adaptation of Henry V, 1989. The film was released to great critical acclaim. 40. Howard's End and worldwide recognition, 1990 to 1993. Thompson and Branagh are considered by American writer and critic James Monaco to have led the British cinematic onslaught in the 1990s. 41 She continued to experiment with Shakespeare in the new decade, appearing with Branagh in his stage productions of A Midsummer Night's Dream and King Lear. 37 Reviewing the latter, the Chicago Tribune praised her extraordinary performance of the hobbling, stooped hunchback fool. 42 Thompson returned to cinema in 1991, playing a frivolous aristocrat in Impromptu with Judy Davis and Hugh Grant. 4 She was nominated for Best Supporting Female at the Independent Spirit Awards. 43 Her second release of 1991 was another pairing with Branagh, who also directed, in the Los Angeles-based noir Dead Again. She played a woman who has forgotten her identity. 44 Early in 1992, Thompson had a guest role in an episode of Cheers as Frasier Crane's first wife. 45. Anthony Hopkins, pictured in 1992, starred with Thompson in Howard's End, 1992, and The Remains of the Day, 1993. A turning point in Thompson's career. 33 came when she was cast opposite Anthony Hopkins and Vanessa Redgrave in the Merchant Ivory period drama Howard's End, 1992, based on the novel by E.M. Forster. The film explored the social class system in Edwardian Britain, with Thompson playing an idealistic, intellectual, forward-looking woman who comes into association with a privileged and deeply conservative family. She actively pursued the role by writing to director James Ivory, who agreed to an audition and then gave her the part. 8 According to the critic Vincent Canby, the film allowed Thompson to come into her own, away from Branagh. 46 Upon release, Roger Ebert wrote that she was superb in the central role, quiet, ironic, observant, with steel inside. 47 Howard's End was widely praised. 48 A surprise hit, 49 and received 9 Academy Award nominations. 50 Among its 3 wins was the Best Actress trophy for Thompson, who was also awarded a Golden Globe and BAFTA for her performance. For reflecting on the role, the New York Times wrote that the actress found herself an international success almost overnight. 4. For her next 2 films, Thompson returned to working with Branagh. In Peter's Friends, 1992, the pair starred with Stephen Fry, Hugh Laurie, Imelda Stanton, and Tony Slattery as a group of Cambridge alumni who are reunited 10 years after graduating. The comedy was positively reviewed. 51 And Desson Howe of the Washington Post wrote that Thompson was its highlight. Even as a rather one-dimensional character, she exudes grace and an adroit sense of comic tragedy. 52. She followed this with Branagh's screen version of Much Ado About Nothing, 1993. The couple starred as Beatrice and Benedict, alongside a cast that also included Denzel Washington, Keanu Reeves, and Michael Keaton. Thompson was widely praised for the on-screen chemistry with Branagh and the natural ease with which she played the role. 53-54 marking another critical success for Thompson. 55 Her performance earned a nomination for Best Female Lead at the Independent Spirit Awards. 43. Thompson reunited with Merchant, Ivory and Anthony Hopkins to film The Remains of the Day, 1993, which has been described as a classic and the production team's definitive film. 56-57 Based on Kazuo Ishijiro's novel about a housekeeper and butler in interwar Britain, the story is acclaimed for its study of loneliness and repression, though Thompson was particularly interested in looking at the deformity that servitude inflicts upon people, since her grandmother had worked as a servant and made many sacrifices. 8 She has named the film as one of the greatest experiences of her career, considering it to be a masterpiece of withheld emotion. 58 The Remains of the Day was a critical and commercial success. 56 Receiving 8 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture and a second Best Actress nomination for Thompson. 59. Along with her Best Actress nomination at the 66th Academy Awards, Thompson was also nominated in the Best Supporting Actress category, making her the 8th performer in history to be nominated for 2 Oscars in the same year. 60 It came for her role as the lawyer Gareth Pierce in The Name of the Father, 1993, a drama about the Guildford Four starring Daniel Day-Lewis. The film was her second hit of the year, earning $65 million and critical praise, and was nominated for Best Picture along with The Remains of the Day. 61-62. Sense and Sensibility and Established Actress, 1994 to 1999. In 1994, Thompson made her Hollywood debut playing a goofy doctor alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito in Jr. Although the male pregnancy storyline was poorly received by most critics and flopped at the box office, 63 Nicholas Al of the San Francisco Chronicle praised the lead trio. 64 She returned to independent cinema for a lead role in Carrington, which studied the platonic relationship between artist Dora Carrington and writer Lytton Strachey, played by Jonathan Pryce. Roger Ebert remarked that Thompson had developed a specialty in unrequited love. 65 And the TV Guide Film and Video Companion commented that her neurasthenic mannerisms, which usually drive us batty, are appropriate here. 66. Efford House in Holbeta, which stood in for Barton Cottage in Sense and Sensibility, 1995. Thompson's Academy success continued with Sense and Sensibility, 1995, generally considered to be the most popular and authentic of the numerous film adaptations of Jane Austen's novels made in the 1990s. 67, 68, 69 Thompson, a lifelong lover of Austen's work, was hired to write the film based on the period sketches in her series Thompson. 70 She spent 5 years developing the screenplay. 71 And took the role of the sister Eleanor Dashwood despite, aged 35, being 16 years older than the literary character. 72 Directed by Ang Lee and co-starring Kate Winslet, Sense and Sensibility received widespread critical acclaim and ranks among the highest-grossing films of Thompson's career. 73-74 Shelley Frome remarked that she displayed a great affinity for Jane Austen's style and wit. 75 and Graham Fuller of Sight and Sound saw her as the film's auteur. 76 Thompson received a third nomination for Best Actress and won the award for Best Adapted Screenplay, making her the only person in history to win an Oscar for both acting and screenwriting. 77 She also earned a second BAFTA Award for Best Actress and a Golden Globe Award for Best Screenplay. 4. Thompson was absent from screens in 1996, but returned the following year with Alan Rickman's directorial debut, The Winter Guest. Set over one day in a Scottish seaside village, the drama allowed Thompson and her mother, Phil Littlelaw, to play mother and daughter on screen. 78 She then returned to America to appear in an episode of Ellen, and her self-parodying performance received a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series. 33-79 For her second Hollywood role, Thompson starred with John Travolta in Mike Nichols's Primary Colors, 1998, playing a couple based on Bill and Hillary Clinton. 80 Thompson's character, Susan, is described as that of an ambitious, long-suffering wife who has to deal with her husband's infidelity. 81 The film was critically well received but lost money at the box office. 82-83 According to Kevin O'Sullivan of the Daily Mirror, Americans were blown away by her performance and accent, and top Hollywood producers became increasingly interested in casting her. 84 Thompson rejected many of the offers, expressing concerns about living in Los Angeles behind walls with bodyguards, and stated LA is lovely as long as you know you can leave. She also admitted to feeling tired and jaded with the industry at this point, which influenced her decision to leave film for a year. 85 Thompson followed Primary Colors by playing an FBI agent opposite Rickman in the poorly received thriller Judas Kiss, 1998. 86. Continued screen work and further acclaim, 2000 to 2011. Thompson at the premiere of Nanny McPhee in 2005. When she became a mother in 1999, Thompson made a conscious decision to reduce her workload, and in the following years many of her appearances were in supporting roles. 887 She was not seen on screen again until 2000, with a small part in the British comedy Maybe Baby, which she appeared in as a favor to its director, her friend Ben Eldon. 88. For the HBO television film Wit, 2001, however, Thompson took the lead role in what she felt was one of the best scripts to have come out of America. 89 Adapted from Margaret Edson's Pulitzer Prize-winning play, it focuses on a self-sufficient Harvard University professor who finds her values challenged when she is diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Thompson was instrumental in bringing in Mike Nichols to direct the project, and the pair spent months in rehearsal to get the complex character right. 90 She was drawn to the Daredevil role 91 for which she had no qualms about shaving her head. 92 Reviewing the performance, Roger Ebert was touched by the way she struggles with every ounce of her humanity to keep her self-respect, and in 2008 he called it Thompson's finest work. 93 Karen James of the New York Times also described it as one of her most brilliant performances, adding we seem to be peering into a soul as embattled as its body. 94. The film earned Thompson nominations at the Golden Globes, Emmys, and Screen Actors Guild Awards. Thompson's only credit of 2002 was a voice role in Disney's Treasure Planet, an adaptation of Treasure Island, where she voiced Captain Amelia. The animation earned far less than its large budget and was considered a box office disaster. 95 This failure was countered the following year by one of Thompson's biggest commercial successes, Richard Kiddis's romantic comedy Love Actually. 74 As part of an ensemble cast that included Liam Neeson, Keira Knightley, and Colin Firth, she played a middle-class wife who discovers her husband, played by Alan Rickman, has been unfaithful to her. The scene in which her stalwart character breaks down was described by one critic as the best crying on screen ever. 8 And in 2013, Thompson mentioned that she gets commended for this role more than any other. 96 She explained, I've had so much bloody practice at crying in a bedroom than having to go out and be cheerful, gathering up the pieces of my heart and putting them in a drawer. 97. Her performance received a BAFTA nomination for Best Supporting Actress. 98. Thompson continued with supporting roles in the 2003 drama Imagining Argentina, where she played a dissident journalist abducted by the country's 1970s dictatorial regime. Antonio Banderas played the husband who tries to find her, in a film that most critics disliked. 99. The film was booed and jeered at when it was screened at the Venice Film Festival and received a scathing article in The Guardian. 100. Thompson had greater success that year when she worked with HBO for a second time in the acclaimed miniseries Angels in America, 2003. 33. The show, also starring Al Pacino and Meryl Streep, deals with the AIDS epidemic in Reagan-era America. Thompson played 3 roles, a nurse, a homeless woman, and the title role of the Angel of America, and was again nominated for an Emmy Award. 79. In 2004, she played the eccentric divination teacher Sybil Trelawney in the third Harry Potter film, Prisoner of Azkaban, her character described as a hippie chick professor who teaches fortune-telling. 101. She later reprised the role in Order of the Phoenix, 2007, and Deathly Hallows, Part 2, 2011, 33, and has described her time working on the popular franchise as great fun. 8. Nanny McPhee. It took 9 years to make that movie. From the moment I picked up the book to the moment we walked into the movie theater, the films were labors of great love and commitment. Thompson on Nanny McPhee and its sequel, which she wrote and starred in. 8. The year 2005 saw the release of a project Thompson had been working on for 9 years. 8. Loosely based on the nurse Matilda stories that she read as a child, Thompson wrote the screenplay for the children's film Nanny McPhee, which centers on a mysterious, unsightly nanny who must discipline a group of children. She also took the lead role, alongside Colin Firth and Angela Lansbury, in what was a highly personal project. 8. 102. The film was a success, taking number 1 at the UK box office and earning $122 million worldwide. 103. 104. Commenting on Thompson's screenplay, film critic Claudia Puig wrote that its well-worn storybook features are woven effectively into an appealing tale of youthful empowerment. 105. The following year, Thompson appeared in the surreal American comedy, drama Stranger Than Fiction, playing a novelist whose latest character, played by Will Ferrell, is a real person who hears her narration in his head. Reviews for the film were generally favorable. 106. Following a brief, uncredited role in the post-apocalyptic blockbuster I Am Legend, 2007, 107. Thompson played the devoutly Catholic Lady Marchmain in a 2008 film adaptation of Brideshead Revisited. Critics were unenthusiastic about the film 108, but several picked Thompson out as its highlight. 109. 110. Mark Kermode said Emma Thompson is to some extent becoming the new Judi Dench, as the person who kind of comes in for 15 minutes and is brilliant. But then when she goes away, the rest of the movie has a real problem living up to the wattage of her presence. 111. Thompson receiving the Crystal Award at the World Economic Forum in 2008. Thompson received further acclaim for her work in the London-based romance Last Chance Harvey, 2008, where she and Dustin Hoffman played a lonely, middle-aged pair who cautiously begin a relationship. Critics praised the chemistry between the two leads, and both received Golden Globe nominations for their performances. 112. 113. Thompson's two 2009 films were both set in 1960s United Kingdom, and in both she made cameo appearances, as a headmistress in the critically praised drama An Education 114 and as a tippling mother in Richard Kiddis's The Boat That Rocked. 115. 5 years after the original, Thompson reprised the role of Nanny McPhee with 2010's Nanny McPhee and the Big Bang. Her screenplay transported the story to Britain during World War II. Building on the first film's success, it was another UK box office number 1 and the sequel was widely seen as an improvement. 116–117 the same year, Thompson reunited with Alan Rickman for the BBC television film The Song of Lunch, which focused on two unnamed characters meeting at a restaurant 15 years after ending their relationship. 118 Thompson's performance earned her a fourth Emmy Award nomination. 79. Career expansion and blockbuster films, 2012, present. In 2012, Thompson made a rare appearance in a big-budget Hollywood film made when she played the head agent in Men in Black 3, a continuation of the sci-fi comedy franchise starring Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, and Josh Brolin. With a worldwide gross of $624 million, MIB 3 ranks as Thompson's highest-grossing release outside of the Harry Potter films. 74 This mainstream success continued with the Pixar film Brave, in which Thompson voiced Eleanor, the Scottish queen despairing at her daughter's defiance against tradition. 33 It was her second consecutive blockbuster release, and critics were generally kind to the film. 74 119 Also in 2012, Thompson played Queen Elizabeth II in an episode of Playhouse Presents, which dramatized an incident in 1982 when an intruder broke into the Queen's bedroom. 120 Her first film of 2013 was the fantasy romance Beautiful Creatures, in which she played an evil mother. The film aimed to capitalize on the success of the Twilight Saga, but was poorly reviewed and a box office disappointment. 121 122 Film critic Peter Travers was critical of Thompson's performance and outrageously awful Southern accent, and feared the damage this crock may do to her reputation. 123. Saving Mr. Banks, which depicted the making of Mary Poppins, starred Thompson in a leading role as P.L. Travers, the curmudgeonly author of the source novel, alongside Tom Hanks as Walt Disney. Her performance, in contrast to her widely panned appearance in Beautiful Creatures, was received enthusiastically, with one journalist writing Emma Thompson is back, firing on all cylinders. 124. She found it to be the best script she had read in years and was delighted to be offered the role. She considered it the most challenging of her career because she had never really played anyone quite so contradictory or difficult before. 125 But found the inconsistent and complicated character of Blissful Joy to embody. 8 The film was well received, grossed $112 million worldwide, and Thompson's performance garnered critical acclaim. 124 126 The review in the Independent expressed thanks that her playing of Travers is so deft that we instantly warm to her, and forgive her snobbery. 127 While Total Films critic felt that Thompson brought depth to the predictable film with her best performance in years. 128 Thompson was nominated for Best Actress at the BAFTAs, SAGs and Golden Globes, and was awarded the Lead Actress trophy from the National Board of Review. Meryl Streep, her co-star in Angels in America, admitted to being shocked at Thompson's failure to receive an Oscar nomination for Saving Mr. Banks. 129. Thompson attending the premiere of The Love Punch at the 2013 Toronto International Film Festival. The romantic comedy The Love Punch, 2013, gave Thompson her second consecutive leading role, where she played half of a divorced couple who reunite to steal the man's ex-boss's diamond. 130 In March 2014, she made her first stage appearance in 24 years, and her New York debut, in a Lincoln Center production of Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. She appeared in the musical for 5 nights, and her playful performance of Mrs. Lovett was highly praised. The critic Kayla Epstein wrote that she not only held her own against more experienced vocalists, but wound up running off with the show. 131 She received her 6th Primetime Emmy Award nomination, specifically for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Limited Series or Movie for the televised performance. 132 In 2014, Thompson provided the narration for Jason Reitman's comedy-drama film, Men, Women and Children. 133. The period drama Effie Gray, a project that she had been working on for many years, based on the true life story of John Ruskin's disastrous marriage, was written by Thompson but became the subject of a copyright suit before being cleared for cinemas. The American playwright Gregory Murphy said that Thompson's screenplay was an infringement on his play and screenplay The Countess, which he claimed he had submitted to Thompson through a mutual friend in 2003 to consider the role of Elizabeth Eastlake in a proposed film of his play, and to Thompson's husband Greg Wise through a casting director to consider the role of John Ruskin in the play's 2005 West End production. 134 In 2008, Thompson announced that she and Wise had written a script together about John Ruskin, the Victorian art critic, which we want to make into a film. 135. After meeting with Thompson and her producers, Potboiler Productions, Murphy was offered a screenwriting fee and co-screenwriting credit with Thompson in settlement of his claim. 135 The settlement offer was later abandoned by Thompson, Greg Wise and their partner Donald Rosenfeld, when their company Sovereign Films took over production of the film and instigated the suit, creating the independent entity Effie Film, LLC to litigate it. 136 137. In March 2013, District Court Judge Thomas P. Gryza, after allowing Thompson to submit a second revised screenplay into evidence from which Murphy claimed some of the most troubling material had been removed, 138 ruled that while there were similarities, the screenplays were quite dissimilar in their two approaches to fictionalizing the same historical events. 139 140 In response to Murphy's attorney's concerns that the completed film Effie Gray would not adhere to Thompson's second revised screenplay, Judge Gryza concluded his ruling by saying that Thompson's film would not infringe Murphy's play or screenplay only to the extent that it does not substantially deviate from the November 29, 2011 screenplay, the date of Thompson's second revised screenplay. 140 In May 2013, Effie Gray's Cannes Film Festival premiere was cancelled. In October 2013, the film was withdrawn from the Mill Valley Film Festival in California due to unforeseen circumstances, according to producer Rosenfeld. 141 142 In December 2013, Thompson said of the still unreleased Effie Gray that its time has probably passed, comparing it to another project of hers that didn't happen either. 143 Effie Gray was released in October 2014, to a modest reception. 144 Thompson plays Elizabeth Eastlake and Greg Wise plays John Ruskin. They both declined to promote the film. 145 146 Camilla Long, reviewing Effie Gray in the Sunday Times, wrote, "Nothing fits together and no one seems to know why they made this film. Where is Thompson's passion and commitment, or any hint of what she intended to achieve?" 147. Manala Dargis in her review in the New York Times called Effie Gray the cinematic equivalent of a Brazilian wax. The movie omits much of the story's most interesting material to create something that's been smoothly denatured. 148. Thompson's first film of 2015 was A Walk in the Woods, a comedy adapted from the book by Bill Bryson, of which she co-starred with Robert Redford and Nick Nolte. She next starred in The Legend of Barney Thompson. Her role was a 77-year-old foul-mouthed, chain-smoking, Glaswegian former prostitute, the mother of the title character. Neither film was a critical success, although the latter received some positive reviews, and Empire magazine wrote that Thompson was unforgettable. 149 150 151 Later that year, she had a supporting role in the restaurant-based film Burnt. In 2016, she starred in the World War II drama Alone in Berlin, based on the story of Otto and Elise Hampel. She also co-wrote the screenplay for Bridget Jones's Baby and appeared in the film as a doctor. Thompson, Center, attending the premiere of the Meyerowitz stories at the 2017 Cannes Film Festival. In 2017, Thompson appeared in a supporting role as Mrs. Potts, originally voiced by Angela Lansbury in the 1991 animated film, in Disney's live-action adaptation of Beauty and the Beast, directed by Bill Condon and starring her Harry Potter co-star Emma Watson in the leading role of Belle, alongside Dan Stevens as the Beast. 152 The film received positive reviews and grossed $1.2 billion worldwide, making it the highest-grossing live-action musical film, the second highest-grossing film of 2017, and the 17th highest-grossing film of all time. 153 154 155 She also had a supporting role as a hippie in the Noah Baumbach-directed dramedy The Meyerowitz Stories, which premiered at the Cannes Film Festival to critical acclaim. 156 She followed it with a starring role in the film The Children Act, a drama about a family who refuse cancer treatment for their son based on religious beliefs. She had a cameo role as Queen Elizabeth I in the 2017 Christmas special of the BBC sitcom Upstart Crow. In 2018, she provided the voiceover for Greenpeace's palm oil awareness commercial, which Iceland Supermarket picked to promote as their 2018 Christmas advertisement. The commercial was rejected by the advertising organization Clearcast due to Greenpeace's alleged involvement in politics, thus violating their code of conduct. 157 158 Also that year, she was made a Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire, DBE, in the 2018 Birthday Honours for Services to Drama. 159 In 2018, she also starred in Johnny English Strikes Again as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom alongside Rowan Atkinson. Thompson starred in the comedy drama Late Night, 2019, which was written by Mindy Kaling, who also co-starred in that film, and featured her as a popular television host who hires a new writer to keep the show from getting replaced. 160 The film received positive reviews, with Thompson being singled out for praise, and Owen Gleiberman of Variety remarked that Thompson truly seems like a born talk show host. Even when she's just riffing, she grounds Late Night in something real. 161. She was nominated for a Golden Globe Award for Best Actress, Motion Picture Comedy or Musical. 162 In the same year, she voiced as the Yeti Elder in the stop-motion animated film Missing Link, reprised her role as Agent O in a more substantial part in Men in Black, International, and co-produced and co-starred alongside Emilia Clarke and Henry Golding in the festive romantic comedy Last Christmas, which was based on the song of the same name by George Michael, and was written by Thompson, her husband Greg Wise, and Bryony Kimmings. 163. In 2021, Thompson starred opposite Emma Stone as the titular protagonist villain in Cruella, a Disney live-action spin-off/reboot of 101 Dalmatians, directed by Craig Gillespie, which was released on May 28, 2021 to positive reviews and has grossed $233 million worldwide against its $100 million budget. 164, 165, 166, 167 She won praise from critics for the role of the Baroness, with Alonzo Durald from The Rap writing, Thompson sinking every last tooth into a role that's half Miranda Priestley and half Reynolds Woodcock. 168. In 2022, Thompson starred opposite Daryl McCormack in the sex comedy drama Good Luck to You, Leo Grande, written by Katie Brand and directed by Sophie Hyde. 169, 170. Thompson plays the authoritarian headmistress Miss Trunchbull in the film adaptation of Matilda the Musical, which in turn is based on the novel of the same name by Roald Dahl. It is directed by Matthew Warchus, with a script written by Dennis Kelly and songs composed by Tim Minchin. 171 Following its world premiere at the BFI London Film Festival on October 5, 2022, film critic Robbie Collin of The Telegraph wrote Thompson's portrayal of Trunchbull is a deranged villain to remember. 172 The Guardian critic Peter Bradshaw stated the gleefully sly comedy kindred spirits of Thompson and Minchin come together to form the film's bedrock of naughtiness. 173 In 2022, she also starred alongside Lily James and Sujal Ali in the romantic comedy What's Love Got to Do with It? 174. Thompson at the 78th Locarno Film Festival. In the upcoming film Dead of Winter, directed by Brian Kirk, Thompson is attached to star alongside Laurel Marsden and Judy Greer. 175-176 The film was shot in the 2024 winter in North Karelia, Finland. 177-178 where Thompson praised the skills of the local working crew. 179 even writing a laudatory letter dedicated to the Finns, published by Helsingin Sanomat. 178-180 Because of this, the Finnish President Alexander Stubb personally called Thompson and thanked the actress for her beautiful words, trust in Finns, and welcomed her back to Finland. 178-181 Reception and acting style. Thompson is regarded to be among the best actresses of her generation. 182-183 and one of Britain's most recognizable actresses, held in high regard within Hollywood. 184-185 Early in her career she was closely associated with her first husband, Kenneth Branagh. The public warmed to her after the separation, and she became one of the key actresses of the 1990s. 185-186 Her status has continued to grow. In 2008, journalist Sarah Sands stated that Thompson has improved with age and experience. 183 And Mark Kermode said of her performances, there is something about her which is you just trust her. You just think I'm in proper hands here. She's up there with the great, I mean really great, British female performers. 111 I am an instinctive actress. I don't have technique because I never learned any. I do the cerebral bit before I start. Then I just let it be. I allow whatever rises to rise naturally. You are tricking your subconscious. I work from the inside out. Thompson on her approach to acting. 9. Thompson is particularly known for playing reticent women. 187 And Sands describes her as the best actress of our times on Suffering, born with poignant dignity. 183 According to Kate Kellaway of The Guardian, she specializes in playing a good woman in a frock. 9 She also plays many haughty characters, with a bracing, nanny-like demeanor. 21 But she is noted for her ability to win the empathy of audiences. 120-187 Thompson belongs to a group of highly decorated British actresses including Judi Dench, Kate Winslet, and Helena Bonham Carter, who are known for appearing in heritage films and typically showing restraint, rendering emotions through intellect rather than feelings, and a sense of irony, which demonstrates the heroine's superior understanding. 188-189 Projecting a typically British image. 185 Thompson's often dogmatic and tight-jawed manner has also been compared to that of Maggie Smith. 190 With a background in comedy, Thompson's performances are typically delivered with an ironic touch. Ang Lee, director of Sense and Sensibility, stated that Thompson's comedic approach may be her greatest asset as an actress, remarking, Emma is an extremely funny lady. Like Austen, she's laughing at her own culture while she's a part of it. 190 Thompson has stated that the most moving things are often also funny, in life and in art, which is present in her film work. 8 She often brings her real personality to her roles, and Kellaway believes that her lack of conventional beauty contributes to her likability as an actress. 183-9 Writing. In 2012, Thompson wrote The Further Tale of Peter Rabbit as an addition to the Peter Rabbit series by Beatrix Potter to commemorate the 110th anniversary of the publication of The Tale of Peter Rabbit. 191-192 She was approached by the publishers to write it, the first authorized Peter story since 1930 and the only one not written by Potter. 191 The book falls in the middle of the earlier series, rather than at the end, and takes Peter Rabbit outside of Mr. McGregor's garden and into Scotland. It was a New York Times bestseller. 193 In 2013, Thompson wrote a second book in the series titled The Christmas Tale of Peter Rabbit. 193 A third book, The Spectacular Tale of Peter Rabbit, was released in 2014. 194 In 2018, Thompson said she would like to write about what it's like being human now. 195. Other work. A Boodle's client, Thompson at the 2015 launch party for the luxury British jeweller's flagship store in Bond Street, London. In 2014, Thompson was among a group of influential British women, which included Annie Lennox and Rita Ora, to feature in the latest iteration of British retailer Marks & Spencer's leading ladies marketing campaign. 196-197. Acting credits and accolades. See also, Emma Thompson on screen and stage and list of awards and nominations received by Emma Thompson. Thompson has won 2 Academy Awards, for Best Actress in James Ivory's Howard's End, 1992, and for Best Adapted Screenplay for Ang Lee's Sense and Sensibility, 1995, and been nominated for 3 others. Thompson has also received 3 BAFTA Awards, 2 Golden Globe Awards, and a Primetime Emmy Award, in addition to nominations for 2 Grammy Awards, 2 Independent Spirit Awards, and 6 Screen Actors Guild Awards. In 2018, she was made a Dame, DBE, by Queen Elizabeth II for her contributions to drama. She was elected a Fellow of the Royal Society of Literature in 2021. 198. Personal life. Thompson has stated that she feels Scottish, not only because I am half Scottish but also because I've spent half my life in Scotland. 199. She frequently returns to Scotland and visits Dunoon in Argyll and Bute. She owns a home nearby, on the shore of Loch Eck. 200. Relationships. Thompson's first husband was actor and director Kenneth Branagh, whom she met in 1987 while filming the television series Fortunes of War. 201. They married in 1989 and appeared in several films together, with Branagh often casting her in his productions. 202. Dubbed the Golden Couple by the British press, their relationship received substantial media coverage. 216. The pair attempted to keep the relationship private, refusing to be interviewed or photographed together. 203. Thompson and Branagh announced their separation in September 1995. They cited their work schedules as the reason, but it later emerged that he was having an affair with actress Helena Bonham Carter. 97. Thompson's husband, Greg Wise, whom she met on the set of Sense and Sensibility. Thompson was living alone as her relationship with Branagh deteriorated and she became depressed. 28. While filming Sense and Sensibility in 1995, she began a relationship with her co-star Greg Wise. On how she was able to overcome her depression, she stated, "Work saved me and Greg saved me. He picked up the pieces and put them together again." 28. The couple have a daughter, Gaia, who was conceived via IVF when Thompson was 39. 6. Thompson and Wise married in Dunoon, Scotland, in 2003. 204. The family's permanent residence is in West Hampstead, London, on the same road as her childhood home. 6. Also in 2003, Thompson and Wise informally adopted a Rwandan orphan and former child soldier named Tindayabwayagaba. They met at a refugee council event when he was 16, and Thompson invited him to spend Christmas at their home. 6. Slowly, Thompson has commented, "He became a sort of permanent fixture, came on holiday to Scotland with us, became part of the family." 205. Agaba became a British citizen in 2009. 206. On February 28, 2020, Thompson and Wise were declared residents of Venice. The couple own homes in West Hampstead, London, Scotland, and Venice. 207. 208. Thompson reported that on the day her divorce became final, Donald Trump called her unexpectedly while she was in her trailer on the set of the 1998 film Primary Colors, to ask her on a date. She later joked that had she accepted, she could have changed the course of American history. 209. 210. Views and activism. Thompson has said of her religious views. 211. "I'm an atheist, I regard religion with fear and suspicion. It's not enough to say that I don't believe in God. I actually regard the system as distressing. I am offended by some of the things said in the Bible and the Quran, and I refute them. She is politically liberal and a supporter of the Labour Party. She told the BBC's Andrew Marr show in 2010 that she had been a member of the party all my life. 212 Thompson endorsed Jeremy Corbyn's campaign in both the 2015 and 2016 Labour Party leadership elections. 101 She has also expressed support for the now-defunct Women's Equality Party. 213 Thompson has been a campaigner since her youth. 14 Since becoming a public figure, she has regularly voiced her views and been involved in many issues, prompting criticism that she is overly outspoken. 14 She has justified her assertiveness by saying, "What I feel is that we all need to speak up, and a woman who has got a louder voice needs to shout very loudly indeed." 14 Thompson at the 2014 Climate March in London. She is particularly active in human rights work. 9 She is chair of the Helen Bamber Foundation for the Care of Victims of Torture. 214 A patron of the Refugee Council. 215 And has a therapy room in her office for traumatized refugees. 9 In 2017, she marched in support of Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, an Iranian-British charity worker who was held captive in Iran. 216 Thompson is a patron of the Elton John AIDS Foundation. 217 And Time magazine named her a European hero in 2009 in recognition of her work to highlight the plight of AIDS sufferers in Africa. 14 She is an active environmentalist and a supporter of Greenpeace. In January 2009, as part of her campaign against climate change, she and 3 other members of the organization bought land near the village of Sipsun to deter the building of a third runway for Heathrow Airport. 218 In August 2014, Thompson and her daughter Gaia went on a Greenpeace Save the Arctic expedition to raise awareness of the dangers of drilling for oil. 219 She narrated the Real News Network's The Doubt Machine, Inside the Koch brothers' War on Climate Science, a documentary short about Koch Industries and its efforts to discredit climate research. 220 Which was released on October 31, 2016. She supported the London Extinction Rebellion rally against climate change in 2019, although she received some criticism for having flown 5,400 miles, 8,700 kilometers, to attend it. 221 222 She is also an ambassador for the Galapagos Conservation Trust. 223 On February 24, 2024, Thompson supported Ukraine by appearing in a video with 29 other world stars to support Ukraine against Russia. Sir William Connolly, born November 24, 1942, is a Scottish actor, musician, television presenter, artist, and retired stand-up comedian. He is sometimes known by the Scots nickname the Big Yin, the Big One. Too known for his idiosyncratic and often improvised observational comedy, frequently including strong language, Connolly has topped many UK polls as the greatest stand-up comedian of all time. 3 4 5 6 In 2017, he was knighted at Buckingham Palace for services to entertainment and charity. In 2022, he received the BAFTA Fellowship for Lifetime Achievement from the British Academy of Film and Television Arts. Connolly's trade, in the early 1960s, was that of a welder, specifically a boiler maker, in the Glasgow shipyards, but he gave it up towards the end of the decade to pursue a career as a folk singer. He first sang in the folk rock band The Humble Bums alongside Gary Rafferty and Tam Harvey, with whom he stayed until 1971, before beginning singing as a solo artist. In the early 1970s, Connolly made the transition from folk singer with a comedic persona to fully-fledged comedian, for which he became best known. In 1972, he made his theatrical debut, at the Cottage Theatre in Cumbernauld, with a revue called Connolly's Glasgow Flourish. 7 He also played the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. Also in 1972, Connolly's first solo album, Billy Connolly Live, was produced, with a mixture of comedic songs and short monologues. In 1975, he reached number 1 in the UK singles chart with Divorce. A regular guest on chat shows, he made his first appearance on Parkinson broadcast on the BBC in 1975, and he would appear on the show a record 15 times, including on the penultimate episode, broadcast in 2007. 9. He also appeared on ITV's An Audience With, in 1985. In 2006, the British public ranked Connolly number 16 in ITV's poll of TV's 50 greatest stars. 10. As an actor, Connolly has appeared in various films, including Water, 1985, Indecent Proposal, 1993, Pocahontas, 1995, Muppet Treasure Island, 1996, Mrs. Brown, 1997, for which he was nominated for the BAFTA Award for Best Actor in a Leading Role, The Boondock Saints, 1999, The Last Samurai, 2003, Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, 2004, The X-Files, I Want to Believe, 2008, Brave, 2012, What We Did on Our Holiday, 2014, and The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, 2014. On his 75th birthday in 2017, 3 portraits of Connolly were made by leading artists Jack Vetriano, John Byrne, and Rachel McLean. These were later turned into part of Glasgow's official mural trail. Connolly announced his retirement from comedy in 2018-11. In the years since, he has established himself as an artist. In 2020, he unveiled the 5th release from his Born on a Rainy Day collection in London 12, followed by another installment later that year, and has subsequently issued another 5 collections. During the filming of the ITV documentary Billy Connolly, It's Been a Pleasure, he described how art had given him a new lease of life. 13. Early life. Connolly was born on November 24, 1942 at 69 Dover Street 14 on the Linoleum, 3 floors up, 1415 in Anderston, Glasgow. This section of Dover Street, between Breadalbane and Claremont Streets, was demolished in the 1970s. 14. Connolly refers to this in his 1983 song I Wish I Was in Glasgow with the lines I would take you there and show you, but they pulled the building down and they bulldozed it all to make a road. The flat had only 2 rooms, a kitchen living room, with a recess where the children slept, and another room for their parents. The family bathed in the kitchen sink, and there was no hot water. 16. Connolly was born to Catholic parents, William Connolly and Mary McLean, both of whom were of partly Irish descent. 17. In 1946, when he was 4 years old, Connolly's mother left her children while their father was serving as an engineer in the Royal Air Force in Burma. 16. I've never felt abandoned by her, Connolly explained in 2009. 18. My mother was a teenager. My father was in Burma, fighting a bloody war. The Germans were dropping all sorts of crap on the town. We lived at the docks, so that's where all the bombs were happening. She was a teenager with 2 kids in a slum. A guy comes along and says, I love you. Come with me. Given the choice, I think I'd have gone with him. It looks as though it might all end next Wednesday, from where you're standing. I don't have an ounce of feelings that she abandoned me. She tried to survive. 18. Connolly and his older sister, Florence, named after their maternal grandmother, and 18 months his senior, 1619 were cared for by his father's 2 sisters, Margaret and Mona Connolly, in their cramped tenement in Stewartville Street, Purdick. My aunts constantly told me I was stupid, which still affects me today pretty badly. It's just a belief that I'm not quite as good as anyone else. It gets worse as you get older. I'm a happy man now, but I still have the scars of that. 7. Regarding his sister, Connolly has called her his great defender. 18. To this day, he explained in 2009, 18 guys say, God, your sister. We didn't dare beat you up, Your sister was a nightmare. She used to get after them. In the mid-1960s, Flo was on holiday in Dunoon with her husband and 2 children. My mother said, I saw Florence walking along, and I followed her. 18 I said, did you speak to her? Oh, no, I didn't, she said. I thought, oh, my God. It's like being a ghost while you're still alive. Walking behind your own child. Having a look. I couldn't bear that. 18. The aunts resented the children for the fact that they had to sacrifice their young lives to look after them. It was Mona who was troubled the most by having to care for her niece and nephew. It was very big of her to take on the responsibility, but having said that, I wish people wouldn't do that. I wish people wouldn't be very big for 5 minutes and rotten for 20 years. Just keep your big and keep your rotten and get out of my life, because, quite frankly, I would rather have gone to a children's home and be with a lot of other kids being treated the same. To this day, I'm still working on the things she did to me. 2021. Connolly credits one of John Bradshaw's publications with helping him deal with his past demons. He reckons that if this trauma happened to you when you were 5 or 6, then, emotionally, that part of you remains 5 or 6. And what you have to do is carry that 5 or 6-year-old around with you and try and emotionally help that other part of you. It sounds a bit airy-fairy, but I think he's something of a genius, Mr. Bradshaw. 20. His father returned from the war a stranger to his children shortly after the move to Predick. He never spoke to them about their mother's departure. 16. Connolly's biography, Billy, written by wife Pamela Stevenson, documented years of physical and sexual abuse by his father, which began when he was 10 and lasted until he was about 15. 22. Sometimes, when father hit me, I flew over the settee backwards in a sitting position. It was fabulous. Just like real flying, except you didn't get a cup of tea or a safety belt or anything. 16. In 1949, Mona gave birth to a son, Michael, by a local man. He was presented as a brother to Billy and Flo, and nobody questioned it. 16. Connolly's bedroom had double windows, which directly faced St. Peter's Primary School across the street. 20. Now defunct, the school has been converted into living accommodation. The school was very violent indeed. At first, in the infant school, the nuns were very violent. And then over here at St. Peter's, they were just strapping you all the time. I had a psychopath in here, called McDonald, Miss McDonald. Big Rosie, they called her. There was a guy with glasses in my class and she called him Four Eyes, and she was a teacher. 23. At St. Peter's, Connolly decided that he wanted to make people laugh. I can remember the moment in the school playground. I would have been 7 or 8. And I was sitting in a puddle and people were laughing. I had fallen in it and people found it funny. And it wasn't all that uncomfortable, so I stayed in it longer than I normally would because I really enjoyed the laughing. My life was very unhappy at the time, and laughter wasn't something I heard all the time, so it was a joy. And I realized quickly that if you can have an audience this way, life was rather pleasant. 20. While at St. Peter's, Connolly joined a gang. His arch enemy was Geordie Sinclair, who lived around the corner. 18. Connolly was a wolf cub with the 141st Glasgow Scout Group. He revisits the site of one field trip, Auchinjillan Scout Camp, during his world tour of Scotland. 15. At age 12, Connolly decided he wanted to become a comedian but did not think that he fit the mold, feeling he needed to become more windswept and interesting. Also at that age, he joined an organization called the Children of Mary. The group would visit people and say the rosary, with a statue of the Lady of Lourdes in a shoebox. We were as welcome as hemorrhoids. 18. The group would all kneel around the statue and pray. You could hear people hurrying prayers because there was a good television program coming. 18. In the 1950s, Glasgow's sandstone tenements fell out of favor with the planners, which resulted in new houses being built on the fields and farmlands in the outskirts of the city. Between the ages of 14 and 20, Connolly was brought up on a now demolished council estate on Kinfauns Drive in the Drumchapel district of Glasgow, and would make the daily journey to St Gerard's Secondary School, also now defunct, in Govan, on the southern side of the River Clyde. He rode the bus to Perdick, crossed the water by ferry and walked to 80 Vicarfield Street. 215. Drumchapel is a housing estate just outside Glasgow. Well, it's in Glasgow, but just outside civilization, he has joked. 15. To be quite honest, I quite liked it when I lived there. When I moved to Drumchapel, I was 14 and there was a bluebell wood there, and it was in great condition then. I don't think it's in quite so good condition now, but it was lovely then. We had rabbits and pheasants, and I really quite liked it. I just started to dislike it when I got older, into my teens and things. In my late teens, when I was stuck out there, it cost me a lot of money to go any place. It was a kind of cowboy town, but I liked that aspect of it, buying stuff out of vans, a ragman coming in a wee green van. 16. Connolly revisited this tenement in Drumchapel during filming for the South Bank show in 1992. 24. It eventually started to pall. This dreadful atmosphere came about the place. It's like Siberia. And once you're out here, there's no getting out of it. You have to buy your way out, or some kind of talent has to take you out, or you have to be very bright and move away to university. 20. Also at 14, Connolly started to become interested in music, mainly Jerry Lee Lewis and Chuck Berry. At 15, he left school with 2 engineering qualifications, one collected by mistake which belonged to a boy named Connell. 25. Connolly was a year too young to work in the shipyards. Instead, he started working for John Smith's bookshop, on St. Vincent Street, delivering books on his bicycle. He became a delivery van driver with Billslands Bakery until he was 16, when he was deemed overqualified, due to his J1 and J2 certificates, to become an engineer. 25. Instead, he worked as a boilermaker. 26. At Alexander Stephen and Sons Shipyard in Lindhouse. 25. What an extraordinary feeling, Connolly said, upon returning to the site of the now demolished shipyard in 1992. 20. I spent a great deal of my life in here. From age 16 to, well, I started at 15. I started my apprenticeship at 16 and finished when I was 21. Stayed till I was 22, and moved along. I finished welding when I was 24. When I came here, as an apprentice, there was 6 ships being built, right where I'm standing. It was an extraordinary place. A hive of activity. Welders, caulkers, platers, burners, joiners, engineers, electricians. I learned how men talk to one another, and how merciless Glasgow humor can be. It has made an indelible mark on me. 20. His foreman was Sammy Boyd, but the 2 biggest influences on him, according to the book written by his wife Pamela, were Jimmy Lucas and Bobby Dalglish. Jimmy was one of Billy's trainers in the yard who helped him to hone his skills as a welder and a comedian. Connolly also joined the Territorial Army Reserve Unit 15th, Scottish, Battalion, the Parachute Regiment, 15 Para. He later commemorated his experiences in the song Weekend Soldier. 25. Career. Origin of the Big Yin. Connolly's nickname the Big Yin was first used during his adolescent years to differentiate between himself and his father. 2. My father was a very strong man. Broad and strong. He had an 18+1 2-inch 470 mm neck collar. Huge, like a bull. He was Big Billy and I was Wee Billy. And then I got bigger than him, and the whole thing got out of control. And then I became the Big Yin in Scotland. So, we'd go into the pub and someone would say, Billy Connolly was in. Oh, Big Billy or Wee Billy? The Big Yin. Oh, Wee Billy. If you were a stranger, you'd think, what are these people talking about? 26. 1960s. In the early 1960s, Connolly attended the Edinburgh Festival Fringe for the first time. After spending time on the city's Rose Street, patronizing the various drinking establishments, he became enamored with some long-haired musicians and decided to model himself on them. 27. In 1965, after he had completed a 5-year apprenticeship as a boilermaker, Connolly accepted a 10-week job building an oil platform in Biafra, Nigeria. Upon his return to the United Kingdom, via Jersey, he worked briefly at John Brown and Company but decided to walk out on a Fair Friday to focus on being a folk singer. After watching the Beverly Hillbillies, he bought his first banjo at the Barrowland Market. 16. He began to tour with the folka crowd, including regular stints at the Scotia Bar, on Stockwell Street, guided by folk singer Danny Kyle. I kind of introduced Billy to the folk clubs, such as there were in those days. There were very few in those days. We used to go to places like Saturday Late or the Montrose Street Glasgow Folk Club. 20. Connolly formed a folk pop duo called the Humble Bums with Tam Harvey. In 1969, they were joined by Gary Rafferty, who had approached Connolly after a gig in Paisley. The band signed for independent label Transatlantic Records, and after recording one album, 1969's first collection of Merry Melodies, Harvey left the trio and Connolly and Rafferty went on to release 2 more albums, The New Humble Bums, 1969, and Open Up the Door, 1970. Connolly's time with Rafferty possibly influenced his future comedy, because years later he would recall how Rafferty's expert prank telephone calls, made while waiting to go on stage, used to make him scream with laughter. Connolly's contributions were primarily straightforward pop folk with quirky and whimsical lyrics, but he had not especially focused on comedy at this point. In 1968, a 26-year-old Connolly married Springburn native and interior designer Iris Pressack, with whom he had 2 children. They initially lived on Redlands Road in Glasgow's West End, but, when fans began to wait out in the street, they moved to Dryman near the southeastern shore of Loch Lomond. Later that year, 18, Connolly's mother went to meet him backstage after a Humble Bums gig in Dunoon, where she was working in the cafeteria at Dunoon General Hospital. It was the second and final meeting between them since she had abandoned Connolly. 16. She had been living in the town with her partner, Willie Adams, with whom she had 3 daughters and a son. 28. I went home to her house and stayed the night, instead of the hotel. The sadness is, she was a very nice woman, but we never got along. We both tried to like each other, and I don't think she liked me very much. I don't regret it, but I'm sad about it. I wish I'd liked her. And I wish she'd liked me. 18. In 1971, the Humble Bums broke up, with Rafferty going on to record his solo album Can I Have My Money Back? Connolly returned to being a folk singer. His live performances featured humorous introductions that became increasingly long. The head of Transatlantic Records, Nat Joseph, who had signed the Humble Bums and had nurtured their career, was concerned that Connolly find a way to develop a distinctive solo career just as his former bandmate, Gary Rafferty, was doing. Citation needed. Joseph saw several of Connolly's performances and noted his comedic skills. Joseph had nurtured the recording career of another Scottish folk entertainer, Hamish Imlach, and saw potential in Connolly following a similar path. He suggested to Connolly that he drop the folk singing and focus primarily on becoming a comedian. Citation needed. 1970s. In 1972, Connolly made his theatrical debut, at the Cottage Theatre in Cumbernauld, with a revue called Connolly's Glasgow Flourish. 7. He played the Edinburgh Festival Fringe with poet Tom Buchan, with whom he had written the Great Northern Welly Boot Show, and in costumes designed by the artist and writer John Byrne, who also designed the covers of the Humble Bums records. 7. Also in 1972, Nat Joseph produced Connolly's first solo album, Billy Connolly Live, a mixture of comedic songs and short monologues that hinted at what was to follow. In late 1973, Joseph produced the breakthrough album that propelled Connolly to British stardom. Recorded at a small venue, the Tudor Hotel in Airdrie, the record was a double album titled Solo Concert. Releasing a live double album by a comedian who was virtually unknown, except to a cult audience in Glasgow, was an unusual gambit by Joseph, but his faith in Connolly's talent turned out to be warranted. Joseph and his marketing team, which included publicist Martin Lewis, promoted the album to chart success on its release in 1974. It featured one of Connolly's most famous comedy routines, the crucifixion, in which he likens Christ's Last Supper to a drunken night out in the Saracen Head, Glasgow. The recording was banned by many radio stations at the time. 2 yellow bananas tailor-made in cloth with the tops peeled and the cloth skin hanging down. Connolly's banana boots, designed and made by Glasgow pop artist Edmund Smith and a regular in his act during the 1970s, are now on display in the People's Palace in Glasgow. 29. In 1974, he sold out the Pavilion Theatre in his hometown. 7. In 1975, the rapidity and extent of Connolly's breakthrough was used to secure him a booking on Britain's premier TV chat show, the BBC's Parkinson. Connolly made the most of the opportunity and, ignoring objections from his manager, 7, told a bawdy joke about a man who had murdered his wife and buried her bottom up so he'd have somewhere to park his bike. This ribald humor was unusually forthright on a prime-time Saturday night on British television in the mid-1970s, and his appearance made a great impact. When I finished that show, I came back to Glasgow, and I was coming through the airport and the whole airport started to applaud. 30. Connolly became a good friend of the host, Michael Parkinson, and now holds the record for appearances on the program, having been a guest on 15 occasions. 31. Referring to that debut appearance, he later said, "That program changed my entire life." Parkinson, in the documentary, Billy Connolly, erect for 30 years, stated that people still remember Connolly telling the punchline to the bike joke 3 decades after that TV appearance. When asked about the material, Connolly stated, "Yes, it was incredibly edgy for its time. My manager, on the way over, warned me not to do it, but it was a great joke and the interview was going so well, I thought, oh, fuck that. I don't know where I got the courage in those days, but Michael did put confidence in me." 31. Connolly's success spread to other English-speaking countries, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. However, his broad Scottish accent and British cultural references made success in the US improbable. His increased profile led to contact with other celebrities, including musicians such as Elton John. John at that time was trying to assist British performers whom he personally liked to achieve success in the United States. He had released records in the US by veteran British pop singer Cliff Richard on his own Rocket label. John tried to give Connolly a boost in America by using him as the opening act on his 1976 US tour, but the well-intentioned gesture was a failure. John's American fans had no interest in being warmed up by an unknown comedian, especially a Scotsman whose accent they found incomprehensible. In Washington, "Some guy threw a pipe and it hit me right between my eyes," he told Michael Parkinson 2 years later. "It wasn't my audience. They made me feel about as welcome as a fart in a spacesuit." 32. The quip caused fellow guest Angie Dickinson to laugh uncontrollably. 33. Connolly continued to grow in popularity in the UK. In 1975, he signed with Polydor Records. Connolly continued to release live albums and he also recorded several comedic songs that enjoyed commercial success as novelty singles, including parodies of Tammy Wynette's song Divorce, which he performed on Top of the Pops in December 1975, and The Village Peoples in the Navy, titled In the Brownies. 7. In 1976, Connolly's first play, And Me W.I. a Bad Leg, Tay, opened in Irvine and toured in London. It was there that, after consuming a sizable amount of cocaine and alcohol, he collapsed on the floor of a recording studio. 7. In 1979, Connolly met Pamela Stephenson, the New Zealand-born comedy actress, for the first time when he made a cameo appearance on the BBC sketch show, Not the 9 O'Clock News, in which she was one of the 4 regular performers. 7. Returning to the stage, Connolly embarked on his Big We tour of Britain, performing 69 dates in 84 days. While backstage in Brighton, he met Stephenson for a